Are you losing your insanity over a coworker who simply drives you up the wall? Don't we all? So sit back, relax, and grab a drink. I've got just the thing. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, your go-to place for building your dream career and achieving your highest potential. I'm Allie, and we've got another segment of Tips and Tea Time where I reveal my top tips on anything related to career, work, or leadership. And for today, I'm extremely excited because I'm going to be talking about annoying coworkers. Now, when I was thinking about what video to do next, I just knew I had to cover this topic after I read the study by Zippia, which found that of 1,200 US workers that they surveyed, over 90% said that they have experience with an annoying coworker or they deal with them at that current moment. That is absolutely insane. But to make matters worse, and this is the most concerning part, of those, 57% said that they were actually thinking about leaving their organization because of an annoying coworker, because of somebody else. I'm personally shocked by this. I was not expecting to see results like this. Are you surprised by this? Are you experiencing an annoying coworker right now? If so, let me know in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear your story. Because I mean, think about it. When we go to a workplace, we already have all these demands placed on us, all these tasks we have to do as it is. It's incredibly stressful. And now we have to worry about our coworkers and having to worry about their annoying habits. Is there anything that we can do about it? Now, unfortunately, yes, we can, but it's not by changing their behavior. In fact, unless something extreme happens or management steps in, these coworkers are not going to change their behaviors. Most likely it's a habit. It's not going to change that easily. But here's the good news. You can change how you view those behaviors, and you can change, or rather reframe your mindset on when these instances occur. And so I'm going to be revealing my top tips on not how to change these annoying coworkers, but how to deal with them instead. Excited? I know I am, so let's get started. The first thing you need to do is you need to diagnose the problem. Is it you or is it the other person? Maybe you're someone who had a family member who partook in a particular behavior and it drives you absolutely crazy. And if so, you're actually taking out some of that anger on this particular person. Maybe all it took was one day to be exposed to this, they reminded you of this person, and now you just have a thing against them. The reason why it's important to understand that is because it's a lot easier to deal with someone when you realize that part of the issue has more to do with yourself than the actual person. So really take a look at yourself and see if maybe there's another reason why you think this person is annoying. Maybe what they're doing isn't actually annoying. Now, if something that they do actually is annoying and it doesn't have anything to do, then maybe it has something to do with them. And so once again, diagnose why you think they're doing this particular thing. Is it because of their background? So for example, did they grow up in a different culture where maybe a certain behavior actually promotes this behavior? I can tell you for me, for example, I'm Japanese, and one of the things that's promoted is slurping soup, especially noodle soup. And so I know for some of my friends, it drives them up the wall going out to places with me because I will naturally slurp because that's just what's expected. And so once you understand that there's a cultural tie to it, it's a lot easier to forgive the person because it's accepted somewhere else and just might not be accepted where you are at or something you're not used to. So first step that you need to do is really just understand what the real issue is, and also understand that half the time it doesn't have to do with the person, it has to do with the behavior. And so also remember that just because you don't like their behaviors doesn't mean you automatically hate or dislike the person. It's just that behavior in and of itself. So try understanding exactly what about that behavior you don't like and if it's you or the other person. As for my second tip, you need to speak up. Now, as I said in the beginning, the chances of this actually being successful aren't that high, but you still need to say something to begin with. It helps you because you're not bottling everything up, but you're also making the person aware that it is an issue. Now, the best way to go about this is speak to them privately in a separate room. You don't want to embarrass them, and make it very lighthearted. So don't be angry about it. Don't tell them that's the most annoying thing that you've ever come across. Make it more about you. Say, hey, this is something that bothers me. Is there something that we can do so that I can pretty much gain my sanity? You're not going to tell them that, but you want to strike a compromise at the very least. And if you go about the proper way, most people are willing to do that. So speak up, get it out in the air, do not coop it up inside yourself, and just make sure you don't embarrass the person and be lighthearted about it. As for my next tip, expect the worst. As I said, the chances of this person changing are very slim, if not none. And so rather than getting upset about it, just anticipate and plan in advance. Understand when they engage in some of these behaviors and avoid it when possible. So for example, let's take the person who talks too loudly. That is a very simple one. Get some noise canceling headphones. Right? Invest in a good pair, and not only are you not going to be able to hear this person talking anymore, but you're not going to be able to hear any of the other noise going on around you, and so you'll be able to reduce a lot of the noises that occur in the workplace. Another thing you do, especially for the people who like to gossip, look at when they tend to engage in this act. When do they tend to talk about people? Most likely it's when there's a group of people, and most likely it's in a space where they can do it alone. So this can be at lunchtime, this can be in a coffee room or a break room. So tend to look at when they tend to gossip and just avoid the area. If you start seeing people come together and they tend to gossip with each other, don't go into that room. Just anticipate and prepare. That is the best way that you can get around these behaviors. Next, what you want to do is give yourself some time to recuperate. We can't always avoid these things in the workplace, no matter what we do. And so in the best case scenario, what you want to do is make sure you plan some breaks where you can walk away and recuperate. So whether or not this is going to take a walk for 10 to 15 minutes, going into another room, whatever it is, make sure you plan breaks throughout the day so that you can recuperate and not lose your sanity. Because the last thing we want is a loud outburst just because you've been cooping in your anger all this time. So make sure you give yourself a break. Treat it as if it's a reward of sorts. So maybe you have to be stuck with this person for a straight 2 to 5 hours. Once that's done, reward yourself by walking away and recuperating. That is one of the best ways to deal with the situation, is just making sure you take a break and know when you're at your limits. As for my next tip, you want to be positive, be optimistic. In the reality, we're going to have to deal with this for a very long time. There's not much that we can do. And so something that you can do to help deal with these annoyances is just to be positive. Think about some of the positive things about this employee. Are there some good things about this employee that they do that either help you out in the workplace or just make you happy? That is one good way to help reduce the extent that some of their annoyances bother you, is just by recognizing some of the good things about these employees. Another thing you can do is just redirect your thoughts entirely to something that does make you happy. So if your family makes you happy, maybe your spouse or significant other makes you happy, start thinking about those things. So that way you don't get bothered as much when these things occur. But what ends up happening is when we have an optimistic and positive mindset, when negative or annoying things come our way, it just doesn't bother us as much. And so really trying to get a habit of adopting a positive mindset, and if you can, trying to be positive about the very employee who is annoying you. All right, so this is an interesting one. For my next tip, you might want to play the work card. There are just some days where we are about to snap. We are about to destroy something because we just had a bad day, whether it's just work is not going well, we're not productive, we have a deadline, whatever it is. The last thing we need is for some employee who annoys the crap out of us to do the thing that annoys us. And so you can't do this all the time, but what you can do, especially on those bad days, is just tell that employee, tell that coworker, hey, you know, I've had a really bad day and I need to get this stuff done by the end of the workday. Please, can you just tone it down just a little bit? It's not you, I promise. It's just I'm really having a bad day and I just need to have all my focus, all my concentration on this one thing. If you're nice about it, if you explain that it's not them and it's you, more likely than not, they are going to comply, at least for the day. And so use that in a worst case scenario. You are about to lose your mind, because once again, we don't want any conflict. We don't want you reaming somebody out. So just tell them you had a bad day, but just don't do it all the time. As for my last tip, and I do not recommend this unless you absolutely have to, but you can bring management or HR into the picture. So say things get so bad that you need to bring management in to help resolve this issue. You need them to talk to this person about whatever it is that they're doing. Now, just to give you a heads up, the first thing that management or HR is going to ask is if you talk to this employee yourself. They're trying to do everything possible to make sure they don't have to get involved, and so they're going to have you do your groundwork first. So just know that you're going to have to answer that question, so make sure you talk to the person first before you go to management. Now, here's the problem. If management gets involved, that person's going to know that you are the one who ratted them out, and so there's a high risk that conflict is going to ensue after this event. And so really weigh your cards before you just go straight to management. Now, if it is several people who are complaining about it and it's getting to the point where people aren't productive, or it's even hurting some larger objectives such as sales, that is when you can start getting involved and going to management, especially for issues that might be more sensitive. So a common one that I've heard before is when somebody has a really bad odor or they smell. That is a good time when you can go to HR or management, is when they have to talk about this person having to have better hygienic practices. So those are some issues where they can get involved, and it's okay if you haven't talked to them. But for most other issues, if it's not something that's that sensitive and it's more of just a habit that annoys you, management wants nothing to do with it, and they're going to tell you to do it yourself. So do know it's a risk, but if things get that badly, then go ahead and go to them. But just know that there's a good chance it'll bite you in the ass later. And there you have it, my top 7 tips for dealing with an annoying coworker. I know it's not a great situation to be in, and I know it's not great that you can't really change these annoying habits, but at the very least you can change how you perceive it and how you interact with these behaviors. And so I hope that by giving you these tips, it helps you avoid some unnecessary conflict and gain your sanity back. If this is an issue that you've dealt with, or maybe you've used one of my tips before, let me know what your experience was in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it. If this is something that's interested in you, then make sure you stay tuned for my Q&A and FTL, where I answer one of your questions related to abusive supervisors, as well as discuss whether or not you should be reporting abusive supervisors. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're notified of my latest videos, and make sure to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, where I reveal content that's not seen on my channel. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure having you today. Until we drink again, everybody, take it easy. Gosh, I love this place. They always have the best donuts. Oh, I've been looking forward to you all day. Best reward ever.